My name is Jamie. On January 13th of 1978, at the age of 6 weeks old, I was adopted into a loving family. They were a middle-class family that always wanted to be parents. At the age of 3 years old, I used to go around in my preschool class and tell everyone that I was adopted and I was chosen and I was special. When I was 13 years old, I started asking a lot of questions about my adoption. My parents sent me to a psychologist so I could get help on learning more where I came from. When I was 19 years old, my dad went into the internet and did his own research and found an address where my birth mother had lived. My family had to go to a family reunion at that time, so we ended up going to Quincy, where I was born, and I met my birth mother that day. She was blonde, blue-eyed, just looks exactly like me almost. She was carrying a bag of groceries when I met her, and she began to cry because she knew exactly who I was. I also met my great-grandmother that day of who she lived with. She told me about her lifestyle that day, and she also explained to me that I was a child that was wanted, but had to be placed for adoption because of the molestation that was going on in her family, as well as the drug abuse. She was a 15-year-old and was faced with an unplanned pregnancy. My birth father was 16 at the time as well. And Catholic Charities ended up giving her some counseling, and she ended up making the adoption plan at that time. She had a lot of issues that came with placing me up for adoption. Got into a lot of drug abuse, some sexual abuse, and just got into a lot of depression. I ended up being her only child. I have 2 little brothers by my birth father, who I have not met yet to this day. He is still very much of an active addict, and I have met the majority of my birth family on my birth mother's side. I do have a relationship with them to this day. I ended up going in April of last year to Illinois to meet with those family members and to spend time with them and get to know them. In 2008, in June of 2007, let me go back, I was placed with an unplanned pregnancy myself. And instead of choosing an adoption plan, I decided to have an abortion instead. The consequences after an abortion hit me right away because of being an adopted child. I knew that abortion was wrong, and I went into a deep isolation and depression myself. That also ended up being the only child that I would ever have. In 2008, I asked Jesus Christ to come into my life and started a Bible study at Hope Women's Center, which is a pregnancy center for women that are being faced with an unplanned pregnancy. In September of 2010, I became the Director of Abortion Recovery at Hope Women's Center, helping the women that overcome past abortion experiences, as well as counseling women that are thinking about an adoption plan. Thank you very much.